I definitely have had instances where being Jewish, people have said to me, funny you don't look Jewish. And I would wonder what that meant. What does that mean, funny you don't look Jewish? And definitely have heard comments about anti-Semitism, and I am always standing up to that. I'm always standing up to hate, whether it's about anti-Semitism or any hate.
Hi, my name is Nyla Paniker. I'm a senior, current Norman Aid peer counselor, and transfer student at Beverly Hills High. I'm also Indian and of Muslim descent. Can you start by telling us about yourself and why celebrating diversity and being an ally to marginalized groups is important for you?
Yes. Hi, Nyla, and thanks for having me here. I'm so excited to be here because I went to Beverly, so go Normans.
Yes.
So this is home for me. Being the mayor, I'm very, very busy. I have a lot that I have to do during my day, but I'm starting my day here, and it's the highlight of my day. Just to tell you my story, I too come from an immigrant background. My parents were Polish. English was not their first language. I was the one that, like, if you would have to write a letter to the teacher excusing that, I was going to be late or such, I was the one that would write the letter, and then my mom would sign it. My mother is a survivor of the death camp Auschwitz. So I always grew up with the understanding that because of human rights, whether it was because of religion or because of being marginalized, millions of people died. So it really became part of my identity, part of my DNA, that I always felt that I had to always stand up for others because I really don't see a difference in one another. We all have our stories. We all have our cultural history and our cultural traditions, but I really feel that we have to look at each other as the same as human beings, and that we have to value that. And I think because I grew up in a situation where I knew that millions of people died in my family because of the lack of human rights, because of the lack of understanding the importance of seeing one another as humanity, it really became the fiber of my being.
Wow, I really like how you explained that, and where you were saying how you kind of were helping to bridge some of the gaps, like how you said when you were at school you would write notes and things. That's something that my dad told me that he would do, because his family, they only spoke Indian languages when they got here, and they were learning English. And when my dad was put into school, he was kind of one of the first that learned English. So he had to bridge that gap a lot. And the second thing that I really liked that you said was how you were talking about how everybody has their own distinct culture, and it differs from one another. And I like to think about how when people call things a melting pot, I like to think of it more as like a salad, because I think everybody can form into their groups, but everybody still maintains what's individual to them.
I love that, and I view it as a tapestry.
Exactly.
That we weave together. And when you look at a tapestry and you look at the woven, beautiful colors of it, we each bring that to then create something magical.
Almost like a mosaic. Almost
exactly.
Like every piece forms a picture.
Exactly.
I really like how we explain that. Okay, so I have something else I wanted to say. Why are allies necessary to strengthen our community?
Oh, because to me, the strength comes from connection. The strength comes from community. It comes from togetherness. For me, it is about looking at each other and seeing that we're only stronger together, and that we have to really embrace each other. And I really do believe, as I said, although we might all have a different history, a different story, we still are on this journey together, and we really have to value the fact that humanity is all of us together. So where we're going to create light and create something magical for the future, the only way to do it is if we come together and embrace each other. And I really believe that even though we might have a different past and different cultures, that at the core of who we are, we're the same.
And interestingly, Norman Aid also embodies a lot of those qualities that you were just mentioning. So this month is our diversity month, and we're talking about allyship and being an ally. And I think Norman Aid really reaffirms these in a variety of ways. So on our Norman Aid podcast, for example, we discuss a multitude of different topics. And then in addition to that, in our Norman Aid announcements every morning, we also talk about different things that we want to promote. And also on our website, we do talk a lot about different topics like LGBTQ resources, being an ally, diversity. So we talk about a lot of a multitude of things.
Well, I love that you do that, because I think what's really important is that everybody feels seen.
Exactly.
I think what we all want in relationships, in friendships, in the world, is to be valued and to be seen and to have that respect. And that, for me, that's something that I've always tried to do, back even when I was at Beverly. I've always been somebody that, I love to love, I love to connect. I actually feel that I thrive and learn more when I'm around somebody who has a different story, who has a different experience, and to have no judgment to it. It's about really listening and hearing with an open heart, with really like respecting the other, and knowing that there's just a sense of love and acceptance. So I know that I've been that way ever since I was born, as I can remember. As I said, I grew up in a household that, my parents spoke Polish to each other. Their English was really not their first language in any way, and mostly in the home that's what they would talk. And I didn't understand Polish except when it was about me. Then I knew there was something up. But I think it's so important for all of us to just really, really embrace each other and view that the best way for us to grow and for us to connect is to want to hear each other's stories, to want to really see the other person and really see them and make them feel accepted and make them feel safe. And at the end of the day, I think that's what we're all longing for.
Exactly. And you also display a lot of qualities of being an ally, and especially being the mayor of Beverly Hills, you're an ally to all. So could you share any tips with me about how I can become an ally and practice allyship?
Well, I think it's clearly the fact that you're here that is exactly who you are, all of you. But, I think it's about being very open-hearted, very welcoming, really treating people with respect, making them feel like anything that they say or feel, that it's safe with you, and that they feel like there's just like a sense of love and acceptance. As mayor of Beverly Hills, I've always created environments where I'm very accessible, whether it was my walk with the mayor and I'd have hundreds of people walking with me. Like, there's no barrier. I give everybody my cell phone number. I provide a forum called Live with Lily, which is essentially a town hall meeting where people can come and share whatever it is. There's like nothing off the table. Like, whatever it is you want to talk about, bring it. The only thing I say when I start this is, please be kind. That's it. And I have firmly believed that everybody that we meet in our life is carrying something.
Right.
And some days it could be heavier, some days it could be lighter, but I feel that everybody has something that they're carrying in their heart, and we don't know it. And so it's important to just be kind. So I would say my number one piece of advice is to approach everybody with kindness, and because sometimes not everybody's going to approach us with kindness,
right.
But we have no idea what's going on in their day, in their heart, in their life, And instead of like getting defensive, it's more like looking at them and saying, okay, I'm going to treat you with love and respect and kindness. And often there's a shift. And I've seen that. I've seen where people have come because they might not like how I voted or whatever. They have an image of something. And I'm always trying to be respectful and kind to them. And I would say 9 times out of 10, you feel a shift. So it's really how we approach people, because we can't control others, but we can control how we treat others.
Right. And kindness is a big part of allyship, because kindness, it has to do with having empathy for others, right?
Right.
And in allyship, even though you want to be an ally, everybody makes mistakes. So allyship is about accepting those mistakes and wanting to learn from them. And I like that that's exactly what you were saying. You don't know what other people are dealing with or going through, so it's good to just approach everybody with kindness and empathy and to be an ally.
Absolutely. And I love what you said about everybody making mistakes, because I think even us individually, we can look back or even in the moment realize, we made a mistake, and to own it. I think sometimes people just want to hear, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt you in any way. I didn't mean whatever it is that in some ways I made a mistake. So again, it goes back to being seen and being respected and owning our part in it. But definitely it starts with kindness and an open heart and just valuing the other. Because to me, when you value the other, then there is no us and them, it's more of us together.
Exactly. And making a mistake does not mean that you're not an ally. It's simply an opportunity for you to practice allyship.
Exactly. Completely agree.
Thank you. Okay.
Good morning. My name is Justina, and I'm honored and privileged to be on this panel with you guys today.
I love having you here.
I'm half African and I'm half Puerto Rican. And before this, in LA, I lived in Africa for 4 years. One of the questions that I have for you is, have you ever needed an ally?
I need an ally every day of my life.
Because as a mayor...
Every day of my life. I think, obviously, as an elected official, of course you do, because at least the way I am as an elected official, I think true leadership in any way is about having a community see a vision. To me, it's not about one person's vision. It's about having everybody feel that they are part of the goal, part of the dream, part of the change. So even though, when you see, be the change, to me, be the change is a collective. It's a community. But I think individually as a person, I've always needed somebody and more, that was by my side, that I know I could trust with what I was feeling. Somebody who believed in me. There are days where I didn't believe in me the way someone else believed in me. So sometimes having somebody say, I see you, I know you can do this, when maybe that day I'm not feeling it, but they're feeling it for me. So I have to tell you, every day of my life, I've always needed an ally. And I think it's always good to seek them out. Seek out people who you can trust, who wish you well. But ultimately, in order to create change, it's good to have a community of allies with you. But there hasn't been a day in my life that I can remember that I didn't need somebody by my side to help lift me up. And the same goes on the other side. I always try to be that for others. I always try to tell them, you can do this, and I'm here to help you. If you're feeling that you can't, or even if you're feeling that you can, I'm here with you. So to me, allyship is key for anything we do.
I love how you said that it's not only about someone being there for you, you have to be there for others, just encouraging them, just telling them that they can do it.
And then when they do it, you cheer them on, and sometimes they don't. I mean, sometimes things that we want to happen don't happen. And we need somebody by our side there too. So I think it's a mutual feeling where we need somebody to be there for us, to lift us up for the good times and the challenging times, but we always need to be there for the other person, empowering the other person. And when things are tough, to be there to say, hey, I'm your landing pad. I'm the foundation. You can count on me to be there no matter what. Because that's the true test of a true ally. It's not just the good times and the easy times. It's the harder times. And we're going to have those harder times. And it's about knowing that we have a landing pad of people around us, even one person, who is going to be there to guide us and to help us be the wings when we don't have it that day.
Can I ask a follow-up question to that? Was there ever a time you needed an ally because you were discriminated against for being Jewish or for being a woman?
Always. I definitely have had instances where being Jewish, people have said to me, funny you don't look Jewish. And I would wonder what that meant. What does that mean? Funny you don't look Jewish. And definitely have heard comments about anti-Semitism, and I am always standing up to that. I'm always standing up to hate, whether it's about anti-Semitism or any hate. If I am ever feeling that there's hate towards anyone or somebody is being marginalized, I'm the first one who's going to get up there and say, oh no, because I know this is about humanity. This is about a fight for humanity. So I definitely have had that discrimination because of my religion, and because people died for that and are no longer here. I feel that it's my responsibility. I feel that it's part of my genetics to stand up and be the voice for the voiceless who are no longer here, and also to continue the story so that people know in the future that we have to stand up for each other. In terms of women, in terms of being a woman, I had that as well. I remember when I first, even before I was an elected official, and I was put on a commission, and somebody, funnily enough, it was actually a woman, who shook my hand and introduced herself to me. And then she said to me, if you're going to be in political office, you're going to need to shake your hand a lot stronger than that. And I said, no, this is how I'm going to be. So there was a sense of an expectation of how a woman should be in leadership, how she's supposed to project a toughness, how she's supposed to be more like a man at that time. And I just realized that for me, I'm going to do me. I'm going to be me. I'm going to lead with my own style, which is I'm a very, I love to hug people. I love being around people. I give everybody my cell phone. I'm a very kind of connecting person. I'm not somebody that wants to go deal with my staff. I want to deal with you, with everybody. Anybody who calls me, anybody who emails me, they're going to hear from me. And so I think it's about being comfortable with who you are, whether it's who you are as a woman or whether, being comfortable with who you are and your style, and not trying to be what you think somebody else expects you or wants you to be. And I think for me, it's been the most effective, because when I would try to think that I needed to be someone else, I wasn't effective. And for me, it's just being comfortable with myself.
Relating to what you just said, I was 2 years in Beverly High, and last year I was in a club called BSU. It's for Black students. And being in a club was a great and amazing experience, but I've been told I wasn't Black enough. And I don't understand what not being Black enough is, or what not being it enough is. People don't really stick up for you because they don't want to go against what others say. So it kind of hurts sometimes, and you just push it to the side, or you don't want to vocal yourself. But I think you should talk about it because it can lead to trauma.
Oh yeah,
For sure.
absolutely. And do you, I mean, after that happened, were you able to kind of process some of that and realize that you are enough for you? And somebody placing on you what they think is enough, like I was saying, you know, what people were putting on me as to what I should be. It took a while because it is traumatic, because I started the same thing, like questioning, what does that mean? Were you able to kind of sit back and go, I'm okay with me?
I think it's all about just loving myself, looking at myself every day in the mirror, because there's no black enough, or you can't be enough for other people. You can only be enough for yourself, and that's how you truly live a great life, for yourself first.
I love that. Exactly right.
What work do you do to create a culture of allyship in Beverly Hills?
Well, what I'm really proud of about Beverly Hills is that we have a Human Relations Commission, we have an Art and Culture Commission, where we really, really encourage that everybody feels that they are seen in our city. We're going to have our first festival that's coming up in March. That's a cultural festival. It's going to be our first one, so we're going to start small. But we're going to grow it and grow it and grow it, and hopefully this will be an annual event. Because having grown up here too, everybody, as we see here, has a different culture and a different background. And it's so important for all of us in this community who lives here to feel that they are embraced here. So by having even a commission in our government that's about human relations, that's about art and culture, it's about having, we're having these critical conversations that we just started. We've had 2 already, where we have these tough conversations that are about diversity, about culture. By really fostering that and lifting it up in our community, I'm really proud of us. And you'll have to come to that big festival that we're having. It's going to be in March, and it's going to be at the farmers market, and we're going to be highlighting all the different cultures that are represented and traditions in our city. But it's just the beginning. And to me, it's so important. I think that's why we love our community, because Beverly Hills, even though it's worldwide, world famous, we are a family, and we need to treat each other that way, and we need to lift each other up, and this are ways that we're doing that. And I don't know that many other local communities are doing that, and you're certainly doing that here at Beverly, but we as a city are doing that and want even to do it further and further. And as you have ideas of what we could be doing, let's do it. Let's do it.
Thank you so much, Mayor Bossy.
Of course.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Romeo, and this is my second year of peer counseling, and I'm Persian Jewish. My question for you is, can you please share an experience when someone was an ally to you personally, or when you witnessed someone being an ally to someone else?
Well, as I said earlier, I literally feel that everything that I have done as an elected official, or even before when I was a commissioner, has always been because I had people who believed in me. When I ran for office, I never thought of myself as somebody who would ever run for office. Like some people, even when they're at Beverly, they know one day I'm going to run for office. That wasn't my personality. And I had a friend of mine who, came up to me and sat me down and said, you really need to do this. You need to run for office. You've been on the Planning Commission. You're making these choices. And I said, oh, God, I mean, that's just so not my, put myself out there like that. And she believed in me. And, so for me, it was just that one friend who sat me down and said, you've done everything else. What's the worst thing that can happen? Do it. You can do it. You have everything behind you. You've had the experience. So I think for me, it really just took one person, as we were talking about earlier, to kind of lift you up. So that gave me the courage. And I think, really what shaped me and is, as I was saying earlier, that my mom, as a Holocaust survivor who survived the death camp Auschwitz, every day of her life, she told me to never give up. And I think having that sense of her voice in my head of never giving up after somebody who survived a concentration camp helps motivate me. And in terms of watching others, because we've really tried to create a community feeling in our city, that people feel that they're part of an extended family. I have seen how, when I do, for example, the Business with Bossy that I do, I have seen where residents come together at my Business with Bossy and they actually help each other out. There was one guy who comes to my Business with Bossy who met a parent who had a child that wanted to be an intern, so he put them together. Or at one of my Business with Bossy, the guy who is the head of the chamber met somebody else who wants to bring a business into Beverly Hills. They connected. So I think it's about creating an environment where people can be together as a community and genuinely want to lift each other up. So I saw it with my own eyes happen at a few of the events, the Business with Bossy events. But for me, it was just having one person believe in me and see something in myself that I don't know that I had the courage to do. And then now that I've done it, I always hear in the back of my mind two things. One, my mother telling me never to give up. And two, what would you do in life if you knew you wouldn't fail? And I think sometimes we're the ones that hold ourselves back because we're afraid of not succeeding. And I've become to the place that I'd rather try and fail than have the what if of not doing it.
In the midst of being an ally, do you think that you've made any mistakes that made you stronger?
Oh, I'm sure I have. I think we all make mistakes, as we talked about earlier. I think it's about being able to say you're sorry. It's about owning it. I would say to you that pretty much every day of my life, especially these last few years being an elected official, I think all of us having gone through, a global health pandemic, going through COVID, going through having to be separated from each other, being, because I love connection. I think the world that we had to go through these last number of years, as hard as it has been, I think that's made me stronger, for sure.
I think that allyship is important as a peer counselor because you just never know what someone's going through. I think it's really important to just advocate for everyone and just to always be mindful and aware of just everyone around you.
Absolutely, and that's what we were saying earlier, is that I really do believe that everybody is carrying something. Yeah. And just because you don't see it, it doesn't mean they're not carrying it. And that's why we need to be extra kind to people, because even that moment of kindness, that smile, or just looking at somebody in the eye and having them feel seen, can make a difference in their day that we have no idea. So I completely agree, and I love what you said, because I do think that, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Well,
as I have to tell you that for me, I'm so honored that I have been invited to be here, but it's really the gift that you're giving me. Because having gone to Beverly High, all roads for me, it's like you can look at your life as you get older and connect the dots backwards. And as I connect the dots backwards, and see how I'm sitting here now. All roads start with having gone to the schools here, Beverly High, this community, my love of this community, my wanting to give back, my wanting for connection, really all started here. And, you know, I always think of like, what do I wish I knew when I was at Beverly, as I'm sitting here with you? And what I wish I knew then is exactly what you guys are doing now. I didn't have the benefit of. I didn't have the benefit of like the peer counselors or the ability to have a really safe space to talk about and have that. So I would say that what we're doing now, what you're doing now, is the biggest gift for the future and for the present. And you probably don't even realize it, but you are changing so many lives, not only your own, but each other. So this has been the biggest gift that you've given me. So thank you.
We would like to thank our generous sponsors and partners, Michael J. LeBeau, Norman Aid Peer Counselors, KBEV, and of course, we'd like to thank our listeners. Stay safe and make today well lived.